Persona Bros. It's an archetype that all of you are well familiar with. Supposedly the protagonist's sidekick in the story, this type of archetype has existed in all of the Persona games. Funnily enough, I'm including some bits from Persona 1 and 2. Yes folks, I am including Persona 1 and 2 this time. Thus, this video will include a couple of arcanas that we are going to uncover. Firstly is the Magician, the second is the Emperor, and the third one is the Chariot Arcana. The Bro archetype is a recurring character type in the Persona series, personified by characters like Yosuke Hanamura, Junpei Iori, and Ryuji Sakamoto. These characters serve as the protagonist's loyal and flawed companions, contributing to the narrative, gameplay, and thematic structure of the games. The objectives of this video is to explore the significance of the Bro archetype in Persona, tracing its evolution from earlier games, and examining its symbolic connection to the Arcana system that we all know and love. First, let's talk about the aforementioned Bro archetype. The Bro archetype in the Persona series plays a sort of varied role, acting as a companion, foil, and emotional anchor for the protagonist. These characters are vital to the narrative and are intricately woven into the gameplay and thematic fabric of the series. Let's explore how the archetype functions across the games, focusing on the distinct contributions of Yosuke, Junpei, and Ryuji, as well as how their unique personalities enrich the overall experience. At its core, the Bro archetype in the Persona series encompasses several traits, such as loyalty and camaraderie, humor and relatability, emotional depth, and foils to the protagonist. These characters are unwavering in their support for the protagonist, often becoming their first ally and confidant in the game. Their loyalty serves as a foundation for the larger group dynamic. An example is, comic relief is a hallmark of the archetype. These characters use humor, often self-deprecating or situational, to diffuse tension and make the story more approachable. Their relatable flaws make them feel human. Beneath their humor lies a depth that adds complexity to their character. Whether it's insecurity, guilt, or frustration, their struggles are gradually revealed, making their arcs poignant and impactful. Also, Persona protagonists are intentionally designed as blank slates for players to project onto. As to why that is, it'll be a different topic on another video. But Persona protagonists are typically quiet and reserved. The Bro archetype provides contrast with their outgoing, impulsive, and expressive personalities, creating a dynamic that brings the protagonist character to life. Persona 3 to 5, they're not unknown to this character archetype, and those characters are probably one of the more popular ones. Let's take a look at Yosuke Hanamura from Persona 4. Yosuke is the first friend the protagonist makes upon arriving in Inaba. His eagerness to connect stems from his loneliness as an outsider, having recently moved from the city. His loyalty is unwavering, even when he occasionally oversteps boundaries with his humor or insensitivity. Yosuke's awkward and often misguided attempts at humor lighten the mood of Persona 4's murder mystery narrative. However, his shadow encounter reveals deep insecurities about his self-worth and guilt over Saki Konishi's death, adding emotional weight to his character. Looking through his social link, Yosuke matures into a more empathetic and self-aware individual. He acknowledges his flaws and works toward becoming a better friend and teammate. Yosuke's presence humanizes the larger investigation into the Midnight Channel. His emotional journey underscores themes of accepting oneself and others, reflecting the game's overarching narrative of uncovering hidden truths. Junpei Iori from Persona 3, someone who is upbeat and is often the comic relief of the SEAS team, Junpei initially joins SEAS as a way to prove himself, feeling overshadowed by others and longing for recognition. His brash demeanor masks a deep-seated insecurity and a desire to be valued. Much of Junpei's dialogue is lighthearted, often filled with quips about romance or exaggerated bravado. However, his inferiority complex and jealousy of the protagonist's natural leadership add depth to his humor, making his struggles relatable. Over the course of Persona 3, Junpei learns that heroism isn't about being in the spotlight. His relationship with Chidori marks a turning point, as her death catalyzes his transformation into a more selfless and mature individual. Junpei's character development adds emotional resonance to the game's exploration of mortality and the value of human connections. His struggles and growth mirror the player's journey of navigating life's challenges. Lastly, the delinquent of Shujin Academy, Ryuji Sakamoto. Ryuji is instrumental in forming the Phantom Thieves, his defiance of authority and disdain for societal injustice setting the tone for their mission. His rebellious energy reflects the game's themes of challenging corrupt systems. Ryuji's loud and impulsive personality often leads to comedic moments, particularly in his interactions with Morgana and other team members. However, his backstory of being ostracized for standing up to an abusive coach reveals a more vulnerable side. Through his confident progression, Ryuji learns to channel his impulsiveness into leadership and teamwork. He gains a deeper understanding of his own value, recognizing that respect must be earned through actions rather than demands. Ryuji's journey parallels the Phantom Thief's larger mission to reform society. His growth from a misunderstood troublemaker to a dependable ally reinforces the game's message of self-empowerment and redemption. The bro archetype also serves as both an emotional anchor and a foil to the protagonist. These characters offer the protagonist a sense of normalcy and companionship, grounding the story in human relationships even as the stakes escalate. Their humor and loyalty create moments of lightheartedness that balance the game's darker themes. The protagonist's silent and stoic nature is complemented by the bro archetype's expressive and impulsive behavior. This dynamic enriches the narrative by creating opportunities for character interaction and growth. Not only that, it plays a critical role in shaping the group's cohesion. As early companions, these characters help establish trust and camaraderie within the group. Their loyalty and humor set a welcoming tone, encouraging others to open up. Their flaws and insecurities make the group dynamic feel more authentic, as they remind players that even heroes are imperfect. Their personal arcs inspire other team members to confront their own struggles, fostering mutual support and understanding within the team. The bro archetype resonates across cultures and genres because it taps into universal themes of friendship, loyalty, and growth. In Persona, this archetype is particularly effective because it aligns seamlessly with the game's emphasis on interpersonal bonds and self-discovery. Oh my god, I'm talking about Persona 1 and 2 like they exist in real life. Isn't that insane? The bro archetype that flourished in the modern Persona games, Persona 3, 4, and 5, had its roots in the earlier titles of the series, Persona 1 and the Persona 2 duology, Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment. While these early entries did not have the social link or confidence systems that emphasize character bonds, their narrative and character dynamics laid the foundation for the archetype's evolution. Characters like Masao Mark Inaba and Eikishi Mishina embody traits that would later define the bro archetype, acting as the protagonist's loyal and flawed companions. We will go through on how these characters function as precursors to the archetype, their thematic significance, and how they influence the later games. Starting off with the first installation of the Persona series, Persona 1, or it can be called as Megami Ibunok Persona. Masao Mark Inaba is one of the protagonist's earliest allies in Shin Megami Tensei Persona, the first game in the series. As a core party member, Mark provides energy, humor, and a sense of relatability amidst the game's darker and more psychological narrative. Mark is a creative and energetic individual, with his love for graffiti reflecting his artistic nature. His personality is brash, and he often serves as a comic relief, lightening the tone of the narrative, as always, similarly to Junpei and Ryuji. Mark has a strong sense of loyalty and friendship, which makes him a dependable ally, though his impulsive tendencies occasionally cause tension. He is optimistic and outgoing, often acting as the party's morale booster. He struggles with maturity, frequently acting on impulse, but his sincerity and dedication endear him to the group. While Persona 1 does not use shadows as mirrors of the characters in themselves in the way later games do, Mark's personality and role hint at insecurities about his creative talents and his desire to prove his worth. Over the course of the game, his actions demonstrate personal growth as he learns to balance his impulsiveness with responsibility. Mark's traits, his humor, flaws, and loyalty can be seen as an early prototype for characters like Yosuke, Junpei, and Ryuji. His role as a comic foil to the protagonist and a dependable friend echoes throughout the Persona series. In the second installation of the series, which is Persona 2 Innocent Sin and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, Eikichi Mishina is a flamboyant and self-proclaimed ladies' man in Persona 2 Innocent Sin. As one of the protagonist Tatsuya Suo's closest allies, Eikichi embodies the bro archetype in a way that blends humor with emotional complexity. Eikichi is introduced as the leader of the band Gas Chamber. Yeah. and comes across as confident, almost to the point of arrogance. Beneath his quote-unquote swagger, however, Eikichi struggles with deep insecurities about his childhood and his relationship with his father. These vulnerabilities are revealed as the story progresses, adding layers to his character. Eikichi is outspoken, flamboyant, and proud. Eikichi uses humor and exaggeration to mask his insecurities. He is fiercely loyal to his friends, often acting as a mediator in group conflicts. His leadership qualities, despite his flaws, make him a pivotal member of the team. Eikichi's arc is defined by his journey towards self-acceptance. His insecurities stem from being bullied as a child, leading him to adopt an over-the-top persona as a defense mechanism. Over the course of the game, he learns to embrace his true self, shedding the need for pretense and becoming a more authentic leader. Eikichi is associated with the Emperor Arcana, which represents authority, leadership, and the establishment of order. This arcana reflects his growth from a brash and insecure individual into a responsible and dependable figure. Obviously, his character was later reiterated again in different characters in later installments. Eikichi's humor, personal struggles, and eventual growth mirror many of the qualities seen in Yosuke, Junpei, and Ryuji, as well as Yusuke from Persona 5 because of their Emperor Arcana correlation. His flamboyant personality and layered emotional depth set a precedent for the bro archetype in future Persona titles. While Persona 2 Eternal Punishment shifted its focus to Maya Amano as the protagonist, the game still features characters who echo the supportive traits of the bro archetype. However, the role is less pronounced, as the narrative leans more heavily on Maya's perspective and her personal growth. Eikichi makes brief appearances, maintaining his charm and loyalty. If you didn't know, Persona 1 and 2 did not have any social links or confidence system. So if I said that social links have existed since the first installation of the game, I lied. And I did not do my research. And I basically talked out of my ass. Sorry about that. The absence of social link or confidant systems in Persona 1 and 2 results in a less explicit exploration of character growth. Instead, character development is woven into the main narrative. The bro characters in these games are not as closely tied to the protagonist on a personal level compared to Yosuke, Junpei, and Ryuji, whose relationships are deeply explored through social links. The earlier games have a broader focus on the group dynamic rather than individual relationships, making the archetype less pronounced but still present. However, the bro characters in Persona 1 and 2 established several foundational traits that would define their successors. Loyalty and humor, both Mark and Eikichi are fiercely loyal and provide comic relief. Traits carried forward by Yosuke, Junpei, and Ryuji. Flaws and growth. These characters' insecurities and eventual growth mirror the core theme of the Magician and Chariot Arcana in later games. Emotional resonance. While less nuanced than in the modern games, Mark's and Eikichi's personal struggles add emotional depth to the story, paving the way for the more layered character arcs seen in Persona 3, 4, and 5. The bro archetype in Persona series holds profound thematic significance, reflecting the game's central exploration of relationships, self-discovery, and personal growth. These characters are not mere sidekicks, they serve as integral representations of the series' overarching messages. At its heart, the Persona series emphasizes the value of human connections. The bro archetype exemplifies friendship and loyalty, often acting as the protagonist's closest ally and first confidant. These characters embody the idea that strength comes from bonds, a central theme in every Persona game. Not only that, Persona games are deeply rooted in the exploration of self-identity. The bro archetype often grapples with their own insecurities and desires for validation, making their personal growth arc central to the narrative. In Persona 4, Yosuke's unwavering support for the protagonist reflects the necessity of trust and cooperation in uncovering truth about the Midnight Channel. Also, Yosuke's shadow reveals his guilt over Saki Konishi's death and his fears of being a burden, challenging him to confront his true self. Junpei's transformation from an insecure rival to a dependable ally in Persona 3 underscores the importance of solidarity in the face of adversity. Junpei's jealousy of the protagonist stems from his desire to be seen as valuable, and his arc resolves with his realization that heroism comes from selflessness. Ryuji's dedication to the Phantom Thieves in Persona Persona 5 demonstrates how loyalty can spark change, even when the odds are stacked against you. Ryuji's backstory of being ostracized for standing up to an abusive coach highlights the struggle to reconcile his rebellious nature with his desire for belonging. Persona games often deal with heavy themes, such as mortality, societal corruption, and existential dread. The bro archetype humanizes these larger narratives by providing a personal lens through which players can connect emotionally to the story. The protagonists are often heroic figures, destined to lead and carry the weight of the world. In contrast, the bro characters are deeply flawed and relatable, offering a grounded perspective that complements the protagonist's larger-than-life role. Moving on to gameplay, the Persona series seamlessly integrates the bro archetype into its gameplay mechanics, ensuring that these characters are as impactful in battle as they are in the narrative. In gameplay, these characters often excel in physical or utility-based roles, making them indispensable in combat. The social link and confidence systems allow players to deepen their relationship with the bro characters, unlocking new abilities and enriching their arcs. The social link and confidence systems allow players to deepen their relationship with the bro characters, unlocking new abilities and enriching their arcs. The bro archetype also often acts as the glue that holds the team together, both narratively and in gameplay. Their abilities complement other party members, creating synergy within the group. Yosuke is a balanced fighter with access to physical skills and wind-based magic, making him versatile in early game battles. His support skills, such as Sukukaja, highlight his role as a dependable team player. Building Yosuke's social link enhances his abilities in battle, such as getting the skill to protect the protagonist from fatal attacks. This mirrors his growing loyalty and dependability in the narrative. Yosuke has a balanced skill set that makes him adaptable. In Persona 3, Junpei Iori specializes in physical attacks and fire magic, reflecting his brash and aggressive personality. His damage-dealing capabilities make him a reliable, heavy hitter. Persona 3 sadly does not have the features of unlocking new abilities as you progress the social link, but with the new system of Theurgy in Persona 3 Reload, there are dormant interactions you can have with Junpei that unlocks a skill that will help relating to his Theurgy. Junpei's physical focus pairs well with Mitsuru's ice magic and Akihiko's debuffs, ensuring well-rounded team compositions. For Persona 5, Ryuji's high physical attack stats and lightning-based magic align with his headstrong and impulsive nature. His skills often focus on dealing significant damage to enemies, mirroring his direct approach to challenges. Advancing Ryuji's confidence unlocks abilities like increasing the protagonist's combat efficiency, reflecting their growth, camaraderie, and mutual trust. Not only that, his Showtime attack with Makoto also reflects that camaraderie and mutual trust in the Phantom Thieves. Ryuji's raw power and lightning skills often act as the vanguard for the Phantom Thieves, setting the tone for aggressive strategies. Now, the connection to the Arcana. Each bro character in the Persona series is tied to a specific arcana, which represents their personality, role in the story, and thematic growth. The arcana provides insight to their character development and relationship with the protagonist. The Magician Arcana symbolizes beginnings, potential, and the transformation of raw energy into something meaningful. This ties deeply into Junpei's personal journey throughout Persona 3. While he starts off as a somewhat immature and self-centered character, he gradually matures into a selfless and reliable ally, reflecting the growth inherent in the magician's symbolism. Like Yosuke in Persona 4, Junpei's initial presentation fits the magician archetype's association with energy and enthusiasm. However, his energy is often misplaced, leading to impulsive actions and occasional friction within the group. Junpei's insecurities, stemming from feelings of inferiority to the protagonist and a need to prove his worth, are central to his arc. The Magician Arcana's theme of potential aligns with Junpei's latent ability to grow into a true hero, even if he struggles to see it in himself early on. Over the course of the story, Junpei's connection with the protagonist, Cease, and Chidori catalyze his growth. His bond with Chidori, in particular, pushes him to mature, allowing him to embrace vulnerability and develop deeper empathy for others. Junpei's narrative arc explores themes of envy, self-doubt, and redemption, which are core to the Magician Arcana. His initial rivalry with the protagonist highlights his insecurities, but his eventual acceptance of his role within Cease allows him to flourish. The Magician Arcana also houses Persona 4's Yosuke Hanamura. The Magician Arcana's connection to Yosuke Hanamura extends beyond his personality and into his role in both gameplay and narrative. The Magician's emphasis on potential, action, and energy aligns with with Yosuke's journey as he matures from a somewhat self-centered and insecure individual into a trustworthy and capable ally. Yosuke is the protagonist's first true companion in Inaba, symbolizing the start of the investigation team and the larger journey of Persona 4. This aligns with the Magician Arcana's theme of taking initiative and beginning new endeavors. Yosuke's eagerness to delve into the mysterious events of Inaba mirrors the proactive energy of the magician. Early in the story, Yosuke struggles with feelings of inadequacy and guilt over Sakiko Nishi's death, as well as his role in the small town setting he initially resents. The Magician Arcana's association with raw potential reflects Yosuke's hidden strength and leadership qualities, which he gradually develops through his social link and his role within the team. The Magician often represents boundless energy, but also the risk of recklessness. Yosuke embodies this duality while his humor and enthusiasm energize the group. His impulsiveness sometimes leads to mistakes or tension. Yosuke's journey encapsulates the transformative power of the Magician Arcana. His growth from an insecure friend seeking approval to a reliable, courageous teammate mirrors the player's own progression in building relationships and solving the mysteries of Persona 4. As Yosuke comes to terms with his flaws and insecurities, his evolution reinforces the game's theme of embracing one's true self. For Persona 5, the Chariot Arcana symbolizes willpower, determination, and the ability to overcome adversity through action and persistence. Ryuji Sakamoto embodies this arcana through his role as the protagonist's first ally in Persona 5 and his journey of personal growth. His story is a vivid representation of the Chariot's duality, unbridled energy and impulsiveness balanced by the drive to fight for justice and his support for friends. The Chariot Arcana is often associated with characters who exhibit boldness and a relentless spirit, and Ryuji fits this mold perfectly. For the moment he meets the protagonist, Ryuji's fierce determination to rebel against injustice, both personal and systemic, drives much of the story forward. This energy manifests in his immediate commitment to forming the Phantom Thieves. Ryuji's backstory highlights the internal conflict central to the Chariot Arcana. After standing up to Kamoshida's abuse, Ryuji is ostracized and labeled a troublemaker, leading to feelings of frustration and inadequacy. His struggle to reconcile his desire for justice with the consequences of his actions mirrors the Chariot's theme of mastering one's inner turmoil. The Chariot's energy can sometimes result in recklessness, and Ryuji's impulsive nature often causes tension within the group. For instance, his brash outbursts and tendency to act before thinking lead to several near misses for the Phantom Thieves. However, as his arc progresses, Ryuji learns to channel his energy into constructive action, reflecting the Chariot's journey towards self-control. Ryuji plays a vital role in Persona 5 as the heart of the Phantom Thieves, channeling their frustration with societal corruption and driving the group to take action. His vendetta against Kamoshida serves as the catalyst for the team's formation, grounding their mission in justice. Despite his bold and confident exterior, moments of vulnerability reveal his insecurities, adding depth to his character and highlighting his growth as a steadfast ally and embodiment of the Chariot Arcana. At the end of the day, if there's a new Persona game being released, you'll bet everything you have that it'll have the Bro Archetype character. The Bro Archetype is a cornerstone of the Persona series, offering emotional depth, humor, and thematic resonance. By exploring universal struggles and tying them to symbolic arcana, these characters enrich the narrative while forging meaningful connections with players. The archetype's recurrence in other games also underscores its universal appeal, proving its enduring value in video game storytelling. And that is all. See ya.